Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to another episode of Life with Shenita. I am so excited this evening as we continue the mini series of Is Your House in Order? Tonight, we have the privilege of talking about a conversation that's kind of taboo in a lot of places, a lot of homes, is life insurance. Life insurance, the 411 of it. Why should we have it? What is it? How many people don't have it? We will kind of talk about a gamut of things. In addition to, we have a young lady who will share her personal experience of having adequate life insurance when her loved ones passed away. So, in light of this pandemic that we're faced with, it is important that we continue these vitally important conversations about getting our personal affairs in order. We want to move from knowing what to do to actually doing it. Life with Shenita, ultimate goal is to see people overcome life's challenges and live a vibrant life. We know that we're going to have challenges throughout this journey, but we have to choose to live a vibrant life. And so I'm hoping that these conversations, the individuals, the guests that are on the show, that will share their knowledge, their experience with you, will help you get to a better place regardless to the topic. So without further delay, I would like to introduce to you all this amazing couple. Their name is, and I'm going to call them Team Coakley, because I think every couple that works together, whether they work together purposefully or not, they are teammates. So we're going to invite Renee and Cal into the studio. Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
We are
Team
a team.
Coakley.
I love that. We are a
Yes.
team.
That's it. That's it. My husband and I led the marriage ministry at our church, and a friend of ours, we kind of coined that name from them because they called themselves Team Collins. And
Yeah.
so we kind of encouraged all the marriage ministry couples to consider themselves team and whatever their last name was. And so
Yeah.
Team Coakley.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes,
We
yes.
agree.
So I'm so honored to have you all this evening to share your knowledge, your experience with this audience. And before we get started with our conversation, I'd like for you all to introduce yourself to the audience.
Definitely. I'm Renee Coakley.
I'm Cal Coakley.
And we have an award-winning insurance agency, which is Coakley Financial Group. We are, of course, married, and we have been working together for years. We have a team of insurance agents, and this is what we do. This is life for us. Like, we love this because this is our purpose. Our purpose is to educate families on the importance of life insurance. And I think that when you have seen what can happen when you don't have any life insurance, or you can see just the backlash, having to have GoFundMes, having to have church picnics, or just having to really ask family members, it kind of takes away from you being able to really mourn, or for you to really be able to celebrate your loved one at that time. So we always say that we're here for you on the worst day of your life.
That's right.
Yes. Cal, would you like to add to that? That's awesome. I couldn't agree more.
What I believe is that what we believe, I should say, is that we know that everybody needs life insurance because one day we are going to leave this earth. And what happens is a lot of us don't have life insurance, and it's a difficult conversation. And we try to make that conversation as easy as possible.
Absolutely. I remember my mother, and I've said this many times, mentioned to me about getting a policy on my dad and her, and I didn't want to have that conversation because I didn't want to talk about them leaving.
Yes.
So I didn't have that conversation, although they had life insurance. But my mother was such a wise person. She was like, this could create generational wealth, and I didn't do that, but my sister did an additional policy and she was able to, reap the rewards of doing that when they passed away. So I think we just have to really think differently. I've heard people say, I'm not leaving anything for anybody to spend on anybody else. I've heard all sorts of excuses why life insurance isn't, important.
Mhm.
And
So
it's
true. So true. Like
and
I
it's
remember my stepdad saying things like, just bury me in the backyard. I'm like, wait a minute. That's illegal, number
right,
one. And
right.
I don't think I'd want to go back out there in the backyard if you were
Yeah.
buried back there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
And when I think of this, when I think of life insurance, I think of a gift that we leave for our loved ones, and leave them in a better place,
Yeah.
if not as equal to what it was when we were living.
Yes.
You know?
One of the
So
things we do say is instead of leaving debt, we leave dollars.
Yes.
I love it. No debt but dollars.
Yes.
Can you say that again? We don't leave
Instead of
debt, but we
leaving
leave.
debt, we leave dollars.
Absolutely, because that life insurance should be left in the home.
Yes.
I've even learned in the last 5 years it is not even to use to bury. Um, I had people to say use the life insurance money to take care of the family, not to bury the loved one. So make other preparations to bury your loved ones and leave that money to care for. Let it stay in the house, not outside of the house. So I
Yes.
thought that was amazing because I had never had anyone say that to me. And I thought, wow, that's a great way to look at it as well.
And when
Yes.
people tell us things like, oh, I have life insurance, we go, great. Life insurance is for the living. And that is so true.
Mhm.
We actually offer several different kind of policies. So we do offer a final expense policy, which just pays for your final expense. And what I love about what we do is we don't just offer life insurance and then we walk away. We offer a program where you're able to literally sit down and write down all your wishes. So when we sell an insurance policy, we give our clients a final wishes book. And what they do is they sit down and they write down all their final wishes. We don't know things a lot of times like what their favorite color is, what kind of flowers they like. So with the final wishes book that we leave them, they're able to put all of that down. And then that information is sent to it's sent up to our office and it's archived. So when they do pass, that information is easily accessed by the families.
Love it.
Absolutely love that.
Yes, yes, because when someone passes away, the last thing you're thinking about is any of all of that. And so if
Yes.
you have it already planned or somewhere written and somebody can retrieve that, it
Yes.
just makes it so much easier when you're going through that grieving period. So let's talk about, let's go further in our conversation about the purpose of life insurance. Share with us, a deeper conversation about the purpose of it.
One of the things I like to say is that, we can put insurance on our phones. We put insurance on our car, our house, but we won't insure our life.
Mhm, mhm. That's a great way, and I'm not sure if that's has a lot to do with just the old thinking, what we
Yeah.
grew up hearing. We haven't been educated enough. I'm not sure what that is that causes some people to feel like it's not important.
Yeah. Some people believe, you meet all type of people in this business. Some people might believe that if I get insurance now, maybe I'm going to die right away. Just
Yeah.
crazy superstitious stuff, or what are you trying to kill me off? So you get that, they might think it's too expensive. They can't afford it. And it's very affordable.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it is true that some people insure people to kill them off when they're money hungry. We know that happens.
Yes.
We've seen that, but that is not the case for everyone.
Yes.
No.
And if you have a family that is dependent upon you,
Yeah.
then you should have a plan to make sure that that care for them continues when you're gone for years, however many years. And, I never really sat down with my deceased husband, with the financial advisor, with the life insurance agent, so we could really map out a plan, because you really have to map out your plan as it relates to life insurance
You
Yes.
to
do.
determine what's adequate, etc. So before we get into that conversation, can you share with us the percentage of people who die without life insurance
Wow.
or without adequate life insurance?
Okay. They say 48% of people die without life insurance. And then 21% of that have inadequate life insurance. So a lot of times when we hear people say things like, oh, I have insurance at work, it's important that they really do sit down with the life insurance specialist or with a specialist and be able to go over what their finances are, what it looks like, and really to be able to determine if what they have at work is enough. Because a lot of times it's not.
It's not enough.
It's not.
Absolutely. And to know what type, because when my husband passed away, his insurance policy was from the state of Georgia, and it was one amount if he died from an accident, and it was another amount if he died from natural causes, which we did not sit down to make sure we understood the policy. And so, it really does matter that we have these candid conversations without feeling some type of way.
I think a lot of it too is, a lot of times when we think about maturity, we only think about the physical maturity, and we're not thinking about being financially mature. And I think that when you become financially mature, one of the things that you're able to have is you're able to have those conversations about what are we going to do when you're no longer here? Because of course, if you love the person in life, I'm sure that in your passing, you're definitely going to be thinking about their well-being, their finances, and how life is going to change for them. And how is it that you can make that transition so much easier? So, I mean, we have those conversations, and we try and make it easy for the couple or for
Right.
whoever we're sitting down with. We try and make it an easy conversation so it doesn't feel uncomfortable or it doesn't feel like it's taboo. It's like, okay, let's really talk about like what bills you have. Let's talk about, what will happen to your family if you're no longer here. So
Absolutely.
And,
Um,
and that's what
Go
the
ahead.
life insurance does. It actually, as she said, when that breadwinner is no longer here, right? And that's what life insurance is. It's for the living, so that actually the family can continue to live the same lifestyle if that breadwinner was still here. That's what life insurance is about. That's how you see it in action.
That's it. And it's that gift that I talked about.
Yes.
it is a
Gift
gift.
of love that you actually give to your family, because as you said, if you're the breadwinner and you're making $70,000 a year and that's extracted, what
Yeah.
replacement plan is there for you to continue, as you mentioned, that lifestyle that you're accustomed to? And so you do have to have the conversation and make the adjustments if they're needed to ensure that that happens for your loved ones, particularly if you have children.
Yes.
Definitely. I was just about to say that too. So if you have a stay-at-home mom, a lot of times we'll figure, oh, she's not working, she doesn't need life insurance. Yes, she does. Because if she passes, now who's going to take care of the kids? You're still going to have to work.
Yeah.
Who's going to take care of the kids? Who's going to offer childcare? What about the meals? So it's like, we don't think about that.
Yes, in that way, you're right. Because, and I'm sure some people will marry quicker, and I'll say men, I won't say women. And that's just that's just my little experience. But men will, if they have small children, they'll marry quicker to have that help
Yes.
to raise that child. Than I've seen with women. They will wait much longer. To marry than a man. But yes, because you need help. So you have to make sure that there are provisions there to help you go, to continue your journey in life, whether it's to as you said, childcare for the children, food, private school, if you've chosen to have them in private school or what have you. So until that child is of age to care for themselves, the plan has to be in place financially. And I like what you said about being financial mature, because I think that makes a big difference. Once we have a different perspective about finances and we're mature, then we're going to make different decisions and different moves. So let's talk about how to determine adequate life insurance. So speak to the audience about a scenario, perhaps, or how do they determine what's adequate for their family?
Yes. It all depends. Now, I believe with insurance, you want to have at least two types. You want to have a term policy, which a term basically means, I'm going to educate a little bit here, right?
Yes.
Term basically means that it's for a period of time. That means it might be for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, maybe even 30 years. And most of the policies at work is a group term policy.
Mm-hmm.
That means it's going to expire when you leave, or it's going to expire before you leave.
Mm-hmm.
So it all depends on when you leave the job. So that's a term, right? And then you also have a whole life product, or we call it the final expense, which is something that will cover you for the rest of your life. And you want the whole life, which will take care of your burial, right? It's a small policy, enough to put you away, but pays out right away. Because you don't want to take a $400,000, $500,000, $1 million policy to a funeral home. Because you don't want to do that, because now they're going to say, yeah, let's get the policy number. And then, your loved ones, you're all emotional and you're going to overspend. So that's why you need to have two type of policies. The term policy is what takes care of your loved ones. When you die, they continue to still live the same lifestyle. The whole life, which is the final expense, will take care of that burial.
Mm-hmm. Let me add on to that. A lot of times what we tell clients is 7 times whatever their income is. But of course, that is also going to depend on whether or not they have small children that they want to have go to college. So a lot of times we'll tell them, consider that in there. Or if, a lot of times they've purchased a home. So we do have policies that are mortgage insurance, where if it's a life insurance policy where if they pass, then it pays the mortgage off. So those are some of the things that, you need to consider. And that's why we try and make insurance. It's not a one size fits all. Like we make it an individual package, an individual thing that it's tailor-made for your family, for your needs.
Right. And are there other policies out there? I know you mentioned term and you mentioned whole life. Are there other types of policies out there that people could consider as well?
Definitely.
Yes. There are also like annuities policies, which is tied to the stock market. You have, so those are basically the 3 types: annuities, term, and then whole life.
Now, what about universal?
Universal life is usually an annuity product as well.
Okay. Got it.
Same style, yeah.
And so can you give an example of like a numbered example of adequate life insurance? So if their salary was this, and what that would look like in terms of cost for that policy, if they did just off the cuff, can you think of one off the cuff that you can share with them?
Because life insurance is based on several things. Everybody's price will be different because it's based on age, gender, and health. So with some term products, it requires a medical exam. If you get up there into the millions, you got to be in good health. They're going to come in, send a nurse to the house, to the office, do a full exam to make sure that you can qualify. So if you have some health challenges, the underwriting is a little stricter with those type of policies. We have some term product that doesn't require any medical exams, and you can get up to $400,000 to $500,000, right? And you can still get it even though if you have some health challenges. And those are the kinds that most people will qualify for, because if you are older, you may have some health challenges that come up. So to answer your question, those prices can range. If it's, it depends on your age. If you're younger, you're going to pay less.
Yeah.
So if you want a $300,000 to $400,000 policy, it's a young family, 20s or 30s, they might pay, $80 a piece for $300,000 to $400,000. If it's a whole life policy, you can pay between $30 to $50, right, for a whole life, enough to put you away 10 to 15, 20,000. And if you're older, you're going to pay a little more.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's how it really works. Yeah. So it all depends on the age, the health, and the gender. Male will pay more than female because statistically they say we die first. Right? So we will pay more. If we're the same age, if me and her are the same age, same health, I'm going to pay more than her.
When I think of term policy, I think of, as you mentioned earlier, it ending. And so if I am 30 years old and I get a term policy for 30 years,
yes,
I am 60. And now I have to have a second plan, some kind of plan or backup plan, or should have had along those 30 years. I have friends who are very wealthy financially. And so what they have done is they have done extremely well of putting money away so that, in the event that the life insurance term policy ends, their family is not devastated financially.
Yes.
So what do you say to those individuals out there who have a current term policy and they're aging and their health is compromised? What do you recommend? What do you suggest to that group? Because I'm sure there are plenty out there who have gotten term policies and now they're older and they're, as you mentioned, health is an issue and they may not be able to afford, an expensive policy. Do you recommend that they just get a burial policy, just enough to bury them? And if they hadn't planned to leave a legacy financially for their family members, at least they won't leave them burdened to bury them or GoFundMe or etc.
Yes, that's why we always, when we sit with customers and they're young or older and they're sitting with us, even if they have insurance at work, they got a term policy, we always state, get yourself a small whole life policy that's going to be with you for the rest of your life, right? That the premium will never go up and the face amount will never go down, right? That's one of the reasons why we educate families always to have those two policies. Because when you're younger and you have a younger family, you need more insurance coverage, right? That's why you get those big term policies, right? But then we also have policies which has term with your return of premium. So those are the ones you want to look at when you're getting a term policy when you're younger. So a return up to 75% of that money that you've put in. So you have something to leave back.
And a lot of times I know that we feel like, oh, well, I've saved money. I have more than enough money saved. But what we don't really think about is that during the last few months of our lives, normally that's when we're the sickest. And that's when we're going to need the most medical attention, the most medical care. And a lot of times that savings is just basically just
depleted.
Yeah, it is depleted because we're paying medical bills and we're trying to, of course, support, whatever bills that we have also. So a lot of times I do tell clients, I understand that you have money saved, but you really still should consider a policy.
Yeah, and also if you had to go, let me tap on it a little bit. Also, if you had to go into you get old, you had to go into a nursing home, then all that savings will go to the nursing home. You see, so again, your money is not sheltered. So you would, by having an insurance policy, right? And you also want to make sure that you transfer that ownership of that policy. If when you get older, because if you had to go into a nursing home and that policy is in your name, they're going to have you to cash that policy out.
Yeah.
So you have to protect that.
Yes,
definitely.
Yeah. And so anyone that wants to come and sit and talk with you guys about tailoring their policies to fit them can reach you at this information here that's on the screen,
Yes.
www.coakleyfinancialgroup.com,
Mhm.
Yes.
and or call you.
Yes.
Definitely. And we're able to write policies directly over the phone with everything that has changed. So don't let safety be a concern, like, oh no, I don't want to meet with them face to face. You don't have to. You just give us a call and we're able to go over whatever stuff you have right there. And I mean, if necessary, I know that we've done policy reviews. We do policy reviews.
Free policy reviews.
Yes. And we have done them where it's like, the person will get on Zoom with us if necessary. And that way we can look at the actual coverage that they have and explain it to them if they don't understand it. And then, of course, go over what their needs are at that point in time. So I just wanted to make sure that was out there. So you go, I don't want to meet with anyone, or I don't want anyone coming to my house. You don't have to anymore.
Yes.
That's awesome. And what has it been like for you all during this pandemic in terms of business? Has business increased tremendously?
Yes, it has. Yes, it has, because more people are more conscious and aware, because, people are dying every day from this pandemic. And a lot of insurance company, believe it or not, have went out of business due to the pandemic. And a lot of insurance companies are not covering you if you have the virus.
If you have it or had it?
Have it or had it. Yep. It's on the application. They already put it on the application. There are companies who put it on the application.
So in other words, if you do not have insurance and you have not been tested positive for COVID, you need to get some.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
You need to,
Definitely.
So handle your business, meet with the Coakleys and do an assessment.
Yes.
Anything you want to share with them before we bring our other guest into the studio with us?
Yes, I would like to share with them, let them know that, hey, it's an easy process. No more than 20 minutes of your time. We're able to analyze what are your situation. Even if you're on a budget, we can find something that fits with your budget. We make it really easy, and it's a really good time. Actually, we make it fun, because sometimes it can be, talking about debt. Nobody wants to talk about that. So we try to make it fun. We try to, let you know the reason why you're doing this. Instead of leaving debt, you're leaving a legacy for your family. In debt.
Peace of mind. I always think of peace of mind.
Yes.
Because my husband was the breadwinner, and when he passed away, the majority of his income died with him. And so hence is the reason why I wrote the book, Is Your House in Order, to really make sure people start thinking about this from a different perspective. And not feeling uncomfortable having the conversation with your spouse.
Yes.
So I appreciate the work that you all do and for sharing with us this evening. So we're going to bring in Miss Monique English to share her personal story as to the benefits of having life insurance when your loved one passes away. So if you guys will hold tight, we'll bring her in. Good evening, Miss English.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How are you this evening?
Good.
Wonderful. We're so glad to have you join us.
Thank you.
Yes. So with that, will you share with the audience a little bit about you?
My name is Monique English, and I am a domestic engineer, which is, for some of you, a stay-at-home mom. I'm a first-time mom. I have a 20-month-old beautiful daughter, and it's what I do now. I was a nurse for 20 years. And so now I'm just getting adapted to the new change of life, and I'm enjoying it.
I love it. I love it. I love a domestic engineer.
Absolutely,
I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Proudly, and my family, and it works out just as well as if I was a 9-to-5. So we love it.
Yes, I love it. So, I know that you are here to share kind of a testimony or a little bit of your journey as it relates to life insurance and being properly covered at the time of loss. So, can
Absolutely.
you kind of share with us in the audience, your perspective from a personal experience?
Yes, from my immediate family, starting off, my mom, well, I was a family, my mom, my father, and my brother all passed away. And we all lived in the same house together, grew up together. My brother had leukemia for 1 year. He was 25, passed away next year at 26. Totally unexpected. Um, but again, my mom, being aware of how important and having a lot of affairs in order, she had life insurance, and we did what we needed to do. My father passed away first. My father, I come from a military family. My father passed away in 91. So I was very young. I was about 10, 11 years old. But then you listen to conversations and, they're talking about, military take care of this and, life insurance to do this and, the such and such and such. And so, unfortunately, just having death around me at a young age, I had to accept it. But as I got older, I was about 20 when my brother passed away. My brother was 26 years old, and I was already out of the house. I was already living here in Atlanta, and I went back home, stayed with my mom for a year. Got adjusted. Did what we had to do, and I came back here. Fast forwarding, 2012, my mom passed away. And she was working. She had worked for 25 years, and she had a life insurance policy through work. She had a separate life insurance policy that she paid for out of pocket. I had money coming in. I'm just gonna be honest. And we talked about everything before she passed. She had breast cancer, and it was terminal when she found out. But we had that chance to talk, and it wasn't a talk that was really uncomfortable. It was a talk of understanding what life is and what you're going to deal with. And it's knowing, how to fill out that life insurance paper, send it off. You know what I mean? Like you said, the Coakleys, you don't want to take that, $400,000 check to the funeral home, because they're only going to get a couple thousand, and you got a lot of money coming in. So we had those conversations. So I kind of knew what to do and how to do it, and it kind of set me up for now being knowing how to do it with my family. First time mom, I'm at home. And a lot of times, like you said, with insurance policies, we do get them through our employers. So we match, they match what we put in, we match what they're putting in, and you have to know that you can put in more, and you need to put in more. And what do you do when you're not working anymore? And that's what I did. I have a financial company that I'm with, and went, talked to them, and I paid every month my life insurance, because that is a necessity for me, even now being, at home. So it was very important to know and learn the importance and what life insurance is for, and not just thinking of how sometimes growing up, we're thinking about, just a burial or having something just to take care of that. And you don't really think about living. And I was really, really, really grateful to accept early on and young about life insurance, because it helped me to now have two policies. And with my husband and with my daughter, we have a policy over her, and we're comfortable with that. We don't feel like, what happened? We don't want to do this. Some people feel like getting life insurance is writing a death wish, and it's the wrong way to think about it. So from a personal note, it helped me out tremendously, and as well as family, and learning the purpose and what you want to leave behind. And you don't want to leave behind debt, and you don't want to leave behind a burden. You want to be able to leave behind your family being happy and something to continue on as if you was there financially, even though you may not be there in spirit, emotionally, but you did something to leave a legacy behind for your family. even if it's just life insurance. And I believe in that.
Yes, that is awesome. And I heard you say you experienced death at an early age of 9 or 10. And so you had to adapt or adjust to that being a reality along the journey. And then fast forward, dad passed away, and then your brother passed away, and then your mom. And I just applaud your mom for having the open dialogue with you and
Yes.
making sure you understood and you were comfortable with matters, personal affairs.
Friends, some of my friends, I'm the youngest ones, but I have the most mature conversations with them because I have these type of conversations with them about, life insurance and, what are we really doing? What are
Right.
we really setting for, and what are you leaving behind for your family? And being comfortable to have that conversation. And I think that's the most important part is that when me and my husband got together, we talked about it up front. You know what I mean? Because he had a beneficiary, I got a beneficiary. Do you get a new policy? Do I change my beneficiary? You know what I mean? Like, how does this work? And
Absolutely.
to discuss when you're single and now you're getting married, you may have had a niece or nephew, and it's like, okay, so do I just disregard them? How does that work? And I've met women in my life and that I appreciate talking to me because they have multiple policies. You know what I mean? And they're not ashamed of that. I know a woman who was married, got a divorce. She sold her policy. I never even knew you could sell your policy at a certain age. And she cashed out. She cashed out, but she already had other policies set up for her children and what needed to be done. So, you never think about that. You've probably been married 25, 30 years, shorter. Y'all have a life insurance together. Things go sideways. You get a divorce. You got this life insurance policy you've been paying into for X amount of years.
Right.
What am I going to do with that money?
And that's a great point that you mentioned about couples coming together and having policies and not wanting to disrupt those policies because you are looking out for a niece or nephew or child or whomever. We have to come together and decide, okay, well, this is going to remain because this is near and dear to my heart, but we can certainly collaborate at this point and get something together. But what I already have in place, I want to remain in place.
Absolutely.
And those are mature conversations, as the Coakley Renee, I think, said. When you're financially mature, you have those conversations and you're not uncomfortable having them. I'm even open to a prenup today.
Wow.
I am. There was a time when nope. But today, yeah, for that reason. As she said, there may be a time that you've had something in place and you don't want to disrupt that. So we need to understand that this isn't going to change or whatever the case is. And we'll start wherever we are starting and moving forward. That's how we're going to do it.
And we have those conversations with blended families also where it's like you determine, just because you're married now, oh, well, I have my child on this policy. Do I then take them off? Do I do a percentage? So we have those conversations too. And hats off to you.
Yes.
I'm like, wow, she is a force to be reckoned with.
Yes. When I had a conversation with her back in December, I knew that I had to have her to share her perspective because I'm sure that there's somebody out there watching this show is going to connect with what she's saying in the mindset. Even if they don't relate to it, they'll consider changing the way they think. So I'm really proud of her.
Thank you. I think the biggest piece and change that I want people to understand is that the importance of keeping life insurance. And right now, I know a lot of people are unemployed. They've lost their job. I know income is very low and tight, but it's a necessity. You can call them, you can talk to them, tell them about certain things, you can pay it up. But it's a very important thing to have, and you don't want to go without it. Or you don't want to feel like I don't have 9 to 5 jobs. You may be self-employed. You may be an entrepreneur. get life insurance the same way you would have health insurance. You need that life insurance, and you want to keep that up. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that we knew that I was going to make the transition. I was going to have the baby, and I was going to stay home. But I knew, okay, I've had this life insurance for so long with them, and I have this going on. It's like, well, I'm having a baby. Time to go back to the financial board. You know what I mean? Some things are changing. So let's write this in. Let's change this. And we do that. And interesting enough, when I brought it up and I was talking about my daughter and getting a life insurance policy, some companies have a minimum amount that you can get on the child. And it's way more than what some people may think it's going to be. Like, I was very shocked when they told me how much. I was like, why would I need all that much money? Because, again, the guilt. You know what I mean? You feel like, oh, it's life insurance is on my child if something happens, but it's you don't know what you're gonna do. You know, some people think about, like you were saying, when you're older and you're transitioning, you know, in life, about medical bills. Well, what if you're older and you don't have no health problems?
Yeah.
You want to travel. You know what I mean? You're doing stuff, you're enjoying life, and you know, you want to be able to still set stuff up for your loved ones to continue to enjoy life when you're gone. You know, there's nothing wrong with when you pass away that, you know, somebody actually, you know, can do something with that money. And I hate for people to feel guilty about spending that money. I did not feel guilty at all. My mother was very happy. She was, you know, the conversation it wasn't even a sad one, sadly enough, even though we knew what we were talking about, but it was just like, you know, this XYZ, and, you know, you want to do this, if you want to do that. And I invested that money. I bought my first real estate property with that money from life insurance, you know? Yeah. And now that's one of my rental properties that I have to this day. I plan on passing on to my daughter, and it's income from life insurance. And then, you know, after your loved ones is gone, you've buried them. I don't think the money should run out.
Right. I truly appreciate that. That is so true. And when you said pay it up, when we get our not our life, but our taxes, our tax refund, we can pay that policy up for the year or whatever that looks like. And I think we need to consider that, because then you don't have to worry about that monthly bill. Pay it up for a year or however many years they'll allow you to pay it, and be done with that. You know, is there a restriction? Is there a restriction on how far in advance you can pay? I know that you can pay up to a year, but can you pay more than a year?
No, most policies up to a year.
Yeah. Now, what I was going to say is, I know that she had mentioned before, like, even, you know, people losing their jobs. We've had customers, and that's why it's so important for you to really develop a relationship with your insurance agent, because we've had people that have lost jobs and they've called and said, hey, you know what? I lost my job. I'm not able to pay for my life insurance right now. And they had enough cash value built up that they were able to go ahead and pay for their policy for a few months or a year. We're like, how long do you want to do it? They're like, 3 months and I'll have a job. I'm like, okay, no problem. And there have been situations where we've had people call us and say, hey, you know what? I need to take a loan out on the cash value on my policy. So those are things that a lot of times we don't consider, we don't talk about. But if we have those conversations, that way, you know that you're still covered, you're paid up, and you're able to still move throughout life and say, okay, I know that I'm covered. So yeah,
that's really, really great information. And as you said, people may not have even thought about that. Let me pay it up. When I get my refund, let me not spend it on the Jordans or the whatever it is. Let me handle my business here for the next year, at least this part of my business. Pay it up for a year. So I'm hoping someone out there will take that up when they get their refund this year, that they will pay their policy up for the next year. That's exactly what me and my husband had done before he passed away. We had policies on all of our adult children, and we had paid them all up for a year.
We have tax professionals on our team, and that's one of the things that they do is they go ahead and they process the refund, and they'll talk to their clients while they're there, and then they'll go ahead and just pay it up for the year.
Pay it up for the year. And you don't have to think about that until the next year. And one of the other things I want to bring up too, my son is serving time in prison. and he had a policy. We had policies on all the kids, but when my husband died, my policy got behind, and the insurance agent was not on top of me to make sure, like, what's going on in her life? This is unusual. Well, being that he was incarcerated, we could not renew that policy.
That's correct.
Because the policy was in effect before he was incarcerated.
Correct.
And so we have to make sure. So now if he were to pass away, we're going to have to pay out of pocket for that burial. And so I want to say that to whomever is out there, that you are really thinking about those kinds of things too. And to me, a really good life insurance agent will make sure they stay connected. And if they feel like there's some gaps or something is happening and it's unusual, they're going to be on top of you. Yeah. And so I applaud any agent that's on top of their customers like that. Don't just get a policy or sign them up and leave them out there, because life does happen, and sometimes people need you to ring them back in or reconnect with them. So
you get reports, so you know exactly who hasn't paid and how long it hasn't been paid.
We get notified. Yep.
Yeah, so we get notified. So a lot of times, we're calling right away, and it's funny that you say that, because we send out birthday cards.
I was going to say that.
That's awesome.
And I remember we ended up taking a trip. We took a family trip, and we were in London, and like my phone still worked there. So like the phone was blowing up, and I'm like, what is going on? And he answered the phone, and he was like, hi, what's like, you keep calling back to back, like what's going on? And she said, I didn't get my birthday card from you, and I wanted to know what was wrong. So even though we call them, they call us too. Yes. I was like, what? And she was like, I did not get my birthday card. I get a card from you every year.
I love it.
And it was so funny. I told him, I said, she has to and we ended up sending her brownies. I was like,
I love it. I love it.
I was like, you know what? Because you didn't get your birthday card, we are going to go ahead and just send you some brownies.
Yeah. I love it.
So funny, because I was just like, oh wow.
Yes.
Like, that relationship
that means a lot
to us, but it's
birthday card means a lot. It was expected. She was looking forward to it.
Yes.
They do.
Yes.
They do.
That means you really care. And people want to know that they're cared about.
That's right.
By those that they do business with. They want to know that.
Yeah. We send out thank you cards as well. So if you do business with us, you get a thank you card, and we'll also send you out some final wishes booklets.
Love it.
Nice. Yeah.
I am just so excited that I have all three of you guys here tonight, because all of you guys just shared some so valuable. Your information that you share is so valuable. And I'm just hoping that people will walk away and say, you know what, let me schedule an appointment with the Coakleys, or let me call Monique and get some advice from her, because what she said just really penetrated my soul. Because we don't want people to just hear us, but we want them to go to the next level of doing what's necessary for their family.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as we used to say back in the day, let's not talk about it, but let's be about it.
Yeah, that's right.
You guys remember that?
These are one of those things, in life that you're never too young to have. I remember hearing the conversation, younger, oh, you too young for that. You don't know about that. Well, this is one of those things that anything can happen at any age to anyone unexpectedly. And you can never be, well prepared. And so having life insurance, hey, you can start it at 21. You get the right one, you know what I mean? It grows over time, they can get bigger. You can start out with $100,000 policy. You can grow, and you can have $1 million policy, and you can be 30 years old. Now when you meet that husband, you may want to, see, but again, it's one of those things to where you don't have to wait until, it has happened to you or someone close to you. You don't have to wait until you're married. I had life insurance way before I met my husband. I didn't have any children. I just had my first daughter, like I say, and I'm 40 years old. But I had life insurance when I was in my 20s. And again, I didn't have a sibling, but I had nieces and nephews, and they were my beneficiaries, and they are still my beneficiaries, on that policy. So I think that's important to know too, is that you don't have to feel like it's something, you got to be a certain age to do it. You can do it now, and there are benefits to it. Doing it younger, as they mentioned, the Coakleys mentioned before, I due to the dollar amount, then yes, you probably do, additional physical blood pressure, things like that. Make sure you don't have, diabetes, cholesterol. They don't get too in depth, but healthy as a horse when you're young, you can do it, over the phone nowadays. If they do need something as simple as a mouth swab, it's way simpler than the COVID test. So you can get life insurance. And the swab is way simpler, and it's more beneficiary to get the life insurance right now. So yeah.
Yeah,
I
I have
clients that leave policies. They go ahead and they'll leave money to churches,
Mhm.
schools, to
Mhm.
sororities. So, a lot of times people might say, well, I'm single. Who am I going to leave it to?
There's so many options.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So many options. And I was thinking about I have a girlfriend who had a policy, and I think I'm trying to remember the official name for it. Disability.
Yes.
And she was advised to get a disability policy before she became ill with MS.
Oh.
hmm
Mhm.
And she got that policy, and of course her income level was way up there because her and her husband had a business. That policy is what's keeping her on that same standard of living today, because she was smart enough
Mhm.
to take someone's advice
Mhm.
about a disability policy
Mm-hmm.
long time ago.
Yes.
And so there's so many areas of insurance that we really need to sit down and look at and talk about, because we just never know what may happen. We may not die. We may have to live with the illness. And if we have to live with the illness, what's the provision for that?
Right. A lot of people think of health insurance that it's just a copay, or just to cover you when you go to the doctor's office. But I mean, we had the right coverage and knew about our deductible and everything, to where even for planning for my labor and delivery, it was down to like a little nothing. And the doctor's visits and things of that nature, it's good to know your policy and what's written in there. And as the Coakley said before, even with life insurance, you can get a basic policy, but if you don't know the writing of what it's for, it may not be enough. And a lot of times what we get through our employer is not enough. And I stress that a lot, because a lot of times that's where we stop. We don't look beyond. And it's a function of, you can use that same company if you want to use. It's just that you're going to get additional policy that you pay more into, and know how it's being, distributed, and the stocks, like he said, there's mutual funds. There's a lot of different areas where you can know how your money's being invested and be a part of that. I urge people to really look into it and see what's going on, and don't just pay and just say, okay, they're paid and that's it. Look into actually how they are using your money.
Right. Financial maturity.
Yes. It's important.
Yes, the Coakley said financial maturity. I love it. So I'm just really excited that we're continuing the conversation as we're getting our affairs in order. Of course, this pandemic has scared a lot of people, and it's causing them to take the time to handle their affairs. Unfortunately, it took this to do it, but at least it's done. So I'm grateful. Is there any parting words that each of you all would like to share as we prepare to close out?
What I like to say, as I said earlier, is that get with someone that you trust and just sit down with them or get a conversation for 20 minutes and have them do an assessment. Make the first step. I mean, if you have insurance or if you don't have insurance.
Renee?
Oh, I definitely love that. I was like, the first Yeah, take the first step. And you know, again, it doesn't have to be us, but someone that you trust.
Yeah.
But we do offer free policy reviews. So a lot of times people feel like, I have to pay someone, or I'm going to be obligated. You know, no, not if you're sitting with the right people, because they're going to make sure that what you have in place. And I mean, we've looked at policies before and told people, unfortunately, like, hey, you're all set.
You're good.
There really isn't
You don't need
anything else
anything
that you need.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've also had conversations where we say, hey, max out your policy at work. Get the maximum you can get. And they just kind of look at us, and I'm like, no, you know, like, we would not be doing a service, a good service. We wouldn't be offering you a good service if we were to not give you that information. So again, get with someone that you trust, and the information's out there. It's just you connecting.
Awesome. And if anyone is interested in becoming an insurance agent, you provide that as well, right?
We would love that.
Yes, we'd love it. We provide training.
Yes.
We have leads, so you don't have to hit up all your friends and family. So yes.
And it's an awesome career. You know, I remember I used to actually be a claims adjuster. So working on this aspect of the field, actually selling life insurance, it's a huge difference. And before, I kind of felt like I wasn't making a difference. Like, here, I know I'm making a difference.
You're making a difference.
I know I'm making a difference. So that's what I love about this. It gives us purpose, along with being able to also pay us while we're doing it too.
And you can do it at home now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
I love it.
Down the hallway, jump on the phone, and help your family.
Love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing those words of wisdom and those nuggets. And Monique, any parting words you'd like to say to the audience?
I just would like to say, like the Coakley said, in terms of taking that first step, have that conversation. If you're not familiar with what life insurance is, if you've never had a policy, if you have had a policy, whether it was through an employer or you don't have it, talk about it. I think that's the best thing to do, because it's so much to it, but more importantly, it's a peace of mind to know and understand life insurance. A lot of people, I think, seem to sway away from it. They're intimidated by it. But then when you talk to someone about it, or if you see how it helps someone, or you see how, someone paid off their house, started their business, purchased their first home, did stuff with life insurance money, you'll kind of feel a little differently about it and get the views of the investment in it. So it's an investment that you make in yourself, but it's to better your loved ones.
Absolutely.
So I think that's very important to do. So if you again, have the conversation about life insurance and get the understanding about life insurance, the different policies that's out there for you, how it works, what you can do, and then go from there. But most importantly, have the conversation, take that first initiative. And once you start from there, it sells itself. I know a couple of people that sell life insurance. I remember at one time I had a friend that was trying to get me to work for them. I was still working at the time, full time, so I couldn't do it. But what caught me is that it sells itself. You don't have to go out to do this. I know that a lot of people remember the life insurance person coming knocking on the door. It's sad because they shouldn't have to. It's something that you need. Like I say, it's a necessity. So once you get the understanding and know what life insurance is, no one has to come or bend your knee to do it. You're going to do it. That's the first thing you're going to ask your employer about. What is your life insurance? Saying, when do my policies start? My benefits start in terms of, paying into and how it works. So that's the only thing that I would say is just, don't shy away from it. Get comfortable with it. Talk about it. Your friends, family, hit me up. I'll be more than sharing with you a dollar amount, whatever, because it shouldn't be an embarrassing thing either. You know what I mean? You should not be ashamed to say that you have life insurance on your husband.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It's what you should have.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's a peace of mind.
Yes.
Life insurance is a peace of mind. Get the understanding. Meet with someone, the Coakleys, or whomever, and just take the steps necessary to protect your family, provide for your family. So again, thank you all for sharing your hearts, and I will see you in the studio.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. So that was a wonderful conversation. I am hoping that all of you all will take those nuggets and implement them into your life to make sure as you are getting your house in order, that your life insurance is on the list as a number 2. Last week, we talked about our legal affairs. This week, we've talked about our life insurance, that you are taking the necessary steps to make sure that your family members will be provided for. As we know, life insurance will provide a family with a lump sum of money to pay off. You can pay off a mortgage. You can eliminate debt, just live a stress-free life or what have you, with the provisions. Continue the lifestyle that you've had or up that lifestyle, but it's just necessary that we understand the importance of life insurance. Thank you again for tuning in. Next week, we're going to talk with the financial advisor and an amazing young couple about making sure that we have looked at our finances overall as we continue to get our house in order. As always, I would like to thank you all for joining us this week. Please tune in next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And remember that I love you, but God loves you most, and He loves you best. You guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining.